Hello and welcome back. We've got an oval of Super 4 track down on the carpet today, just to have a look at. We've got this R59 tank loco, quite a play-worn one. It's been sort of fiddled with, hasn't got a complete set of matching connection rods on. So I spent about 10 minutes and gave this track a bit of a clean as well. It's some I've used before, so it's relatively good, but they always need a bit of adjustment. Let's just run that around there. So I've got this basic circular track out because somebody sent over to me a box of items, and I've got it to my right here. We'll have a look through these. We'll just bring this out, and in there is a track plan book, which I thought, well, if you were just had your first circle or oval of track, you would perhaps have got one of these track plan books in the early mid 60s or early 70s perhaps, and it would have given you lots of plans of things to do. So as we saw there, I'm just using the clipper, just really basic, straight in there. Got the power clip in there. So a quick look at this before we get tied up with the other stuff. So yeah, so we've seen this before. I had this on the railway when we were setting up this track, the 2-rail track. And I think I've pinched parts of these rods for one thing and another. I don't think it's a correct set on there from what I remember. And this bodywork, we don't have the securing screw. We've got a crack in the foot plate there, and that's definitely taken a bit of a tumble at some point there. So R59, these came along in the 50s, but I think they went green like this in the early 60s, and then double lining, then single lining, and so on. Let's just get that underway again. There we go. Let's pop that one over there for now. So firstly, I want to say a huge thank you to the person who allowed me to have this box of items. Very, very generous. So we'll just pop this to one side like that. So the track plan book here. So I think there were several versions of this. This is trying Hornby, so this has got to be sort of mid to later 60s. And I do have somewhere tucked away one with trying railways on it, but a very similar picture there. But I suppose I should have dug that one out to have a look at the differences. So we've got the name of a toy shop here, or a sports store as it says there. So Homeside, and that's in Sunderland, which is just a few miles from where I live. So I thought we'd have a look at the track plans here, and then we'll have a look at some of the items within that box. So these are quite exciting things, the track plan books. I remember getting one in the 70s, the Hornby one with all of the points from above on it. But yeah, they're designed to get you to want to buy more, obviously. And we've got loads of items that we can have in here, but there's some very optimistic railways or layouts in here. I was wondering whether anybody who's watching had ever sort of built one religiously from the plan and built it as per the book. Be interesting to know if somebody's done that, especially some of the larger ones. We've got all these lovely sort of symbols there which are going to be used further up the book. We've got the turntable there and all the catalogue numbers and so on. You've got the long straight there. So I've got on the down here on the floor at the moment, I've got 8 of these double curves. Just get that right. Are they double curves? Yes, I think we'd call those the double curves, and this is the single curve, or the curve, and this is a double curve. So I've got 8 of those. Makes up a sort of semicircle. Look at the other side there. So, and then I've got 2 of these sort of long straights there, R480, and I've got 8 of those 483. So that's what's making up my oval of track this afternoon. This is interesting. This is sort of almost like a page cutout. I wonder whether that's just so they could get the right number of pages within the book, and this one was just left trimmed off, or whether somebody has taken something out. But I don't think they have, because that's page 4, and we go straight to page 5 there. There's some interesting fold outs as we come further through the book. There we go, some more of those wonderful illustrations there. There's a power clip there, 487. And again, that's what we've got here. And we've got the symbol which could be used later in the diagrams. We've got some of this geometry. Yeah, so I'm just sort of crawling around on the floor doing this today, so it's not ideal, but I mean, model railways started on the floor and then transferred to the table, I've got a wonderful sort of combinations of points and tracks showing how this geometry works. So you get all the ends. So the Super 4 really was quite nicely thought out. I mean, everything can be improved if you look at it, but this one's a little bit of a compromise. But I suppose if you were going to design it again, you might make changes to it, although I think the basic principle of this set track persists today into the Hornby railways, and perhaps Bachmann are using similar geometry. So there we've got a nice thing there showing the platforms and walkways, sorry, not walkways, footbridges is the word I'm looking for. And it tells you to look down here for dimensions and lists of components. We'll have a look at that separately at the back rather than going forwards and backwards or backwards and forwards. So this is quite a lovely image. I was always quite intrigued by the colour of the turntable here, and that sort of salmon colour. I think that's very close in colour perhaps to the sidewalls that I used to have on the Super 4. So I don't know whether the turntable was ever really produced like that, but we've got some amazing items in here. We've got that roadway at the back there. Double-decker bus, I bet that's quite a sought-after item. And we've got Winston Churchill there. And we're interestingly, we are on underlay, track underlay, so I think it does mention underlay in this book. We've got Super 4 points there. We've got a handful of those. Sorry, I'm waving my hand around there. We've got a handful of the Super 4 points in there as well, which is quite interesting. A nice background we've got here as well. So we'll leave that alone and have a look at this diagram here. So we've got a nice signal on the corner of the page, and that's quite a nice. I think that's got to be a photograph, that, hasn't it? Signal box there. And then plan number 2 becomes a little bit more complex. You can see my shadow in the picture here. Let's perhaps go back a little bit further. If I zoom in a little bit, perhaps I can stay back a little bit without perhaps getting my shadow straight across the picture there. But there's only so many places you can be in this room before you start casting shadows and stuff. So we'll flip around there, and you can see this is getting more complex. We've got stations on a partial curve here as well. We've got the crane. All of these items we've seen in the past on various layouts and so on. I haven't got a Trion crane on the railway, I don't think, at the moment, but I do have a 001 with that goods depot. There we've got a B12. So we've got three train addition of a third train. Terminus station allows addition of a third train. So what does it say here? 3 trains can be operated on this layout, although only 1 power controller is required. Simply switch the points to select the train you wish to run. So you've got elements of different operations being included into the railway. I think this is quite a nice idea. When I had the Super 4 down there, in the sort of bottom right-hand corner of the layout, I'd always wanted to get something like that, but I couldn't get the spacing and the length right. So I could get some diesel rail cars in there, and I never did manage to get that to work. Maybe next time. Double track permits operation of 2 trains simultaneously. And we've got the additional controls and great illustrations here of the coaches. We've got up and over. Single track layout with flyover. And it's interesting, they've got the use of these different colours. It's quite a contrast. We've got the bridge, girder bridge there. We've got one of those, or 2 of them, or 1 and a bit of those on the railway at the moment, used to reasonable effect. The unloading bridge, and they've got an awful lot of curvature in there with a flyover as well. I always wonder whether you really got very much value out of this, because the climb rate and into curves, you need a bit more than, in my experience, you need a bit more to run at rather than straight into the curves. And this is becoming incredibly complex, isn't it? So that's single track main line with 3 passing loops. So we've got an up and over here. You can see these things represent the piers. It flies over the station there. And again, I've got this really nice, interesting use of the platform and the buildings. And of course the wiring diagrams here. Yeah, the suspension bridge. So this is an awkward item, I think, in any layout. I ran one across the back edge of the Super 4 railway, and I got it to climb up the one entire length of the railway, that 10-foot length. and it descended on a curve on the other end, but you know, over 5 foot of descent when you hit the curve and some straight in, but largely a climb up a straight up the whole length of the 10 feet climb I had. But yeah, you got to, it's going to eat up a huge amount of space, so you could get lots of scenic effect there perhaps, if that was your thing, putting scenery in. That would lend itself to being quite a lot going on. And we've got design for a locomotive depot, plan 10. We've got some of these on the railway at the moment. Interesting, we've got the older style of water tower here, although I'm not sure did they do a newer style water tower? I don't think they did actually. I should know that instantly, but I don't. There we go, some more sort of junctions, designs for good yards. Again, they're photographs, they're not, I think I'll just call that an illustration of a coach, but I think they are photographs, but they are quite nice, very striking in black and white like that. So here we come to a fold out. So that's quite a plan, isn't it? Yeah, so I'd be really interested to know if anyone ever managed to build something quite like one of these, sort of almost out of the book, as it were, out and back, and continuous running for 2 trains. That places the turntable in the middle of the layout there. They do eat up huge amount of space on the railway at the turntable, they really do. So you've got to be quite committed to wanting one. I'm going to just make this go a little bit wider like that. So I think we're going to get there. We've got that huge layout there. Look at that. 3 continuous tracks, 1 high level, terminus and a through station, with the turntable as well. Look at the Davy Crockett there sitting on the edge of the picture. So I'm just going to open this out this way. I've nearly got enough room to get that one in. Now that is seriously impressive, isn't it? So we'll keep plan number 14. Let's remember what plan number 14. Plan number 14. We'll look at how much space that's going to take up. And we've definitely got some up and overs in there as well. Britannia sitting there. So let's just fold that back in again. Actually, no, we won't fold that back in. We'll fold it that way. So plan number 14. So there we go, 14. So it's 18 feet by 5 feet. Is that the largest in there? I think that is the largest in there. There's a list of components, parts across the top, and the number of items needed. So imagine going to the toy shop with that list of things. It'd make their day, wouldn't it, to come in and buy the components for that. I wonder if anybody ever really did. We've got some more diagrams there, how to set up the automatic control, the train control stuff. And I did do a video with some of that auto control quite some time ago, these little pressure switches which would be inserted into the rails to make various things go. I think I had it stop starting around a single oval, and then we definitely had that in the past. This is it tests your patience when you're setting this up, but once you got it running, it really does work well. But it needs some maintenance. It doesn't always stay. It's always worth testing before you commit yourself to charging something through there, hoping it'll still be good. So especially if you've left it for a while. And there we've got the combination of the railway and the motorway. The motorway sections. I think that again you would be needing a great deal of space to get that sort of thing to run. The roadway onto the wagon. You drive straight off the road and onto the wagon. Quite an interesting item. I don't have one of those. And then we've got another wonderful imagery on the back there, and you see that is very similar. That colour. Let's have a look at there. This colour here. Let's just see if I can flip back through and find that turntable. There we go. And then I don't know whether it's the same colour, but maybe it is. I think there's a certain amount of colour reworking on this imagery on the back here. We've got the Electra up there with some freight. Great stuff, isn't it? I mean, it really is. So, yes, it's printed in England. Trying Hornby Model Railways. are made in Great Britain by Rovex Industries Limited, Westwood, Margate in Kent. And there's the code number. I think that's the catalogue number there, R166 for the track plans book. You can see it's possibly damp in the corner there. So let's have a look at the box of items here. So again, a huge thank you to the person who allowed me to have these. I'm just going to shuffle across the floor a little bit here. So we've got bits and pieces. So we've got, I'll put some numbers in the bottom of the screen for those who are interested. We've got the goods van there with the railway company name on the initials on the side. We've got acetate at play there. I think that'll clean up a little. I mean, it is marked, the roof, but you know, we've got cropped axle boxes, the axles there, so you can see in there. Again, I think if I refinish those, that'll run a great deal smoother. We'll just pop a couple of these on here, maybe get that. Yeah, I think some of these are going to need a little bit of help to run. We've got a horse box here. Again, could do with a little bit of a clean. We'll see how these things will work. What have we got there? Oh, get some focus. Yeah, so they're going to need some attention, I think. Let's pop that on there. Yeah, very, very stiff, that one. I think we won't put that one on. And then we've got the brake van, the Western brake van, I think this one is. Again, it would benefit from a clean. I think they're perfectly usable. And it's always good to have the additional. Yeah, that one runs a little better. Again, we'll leave that to one side. Yeah, everything's very well used. That one maybe had been weathered by the looks of it. Again, we've got potentially got the acetate in there. We've got the cropped axle boxes there. The axle's protruding a little bit. You see that? So I know I showed punching some of these out or pushing them out. So I think a tap with a hammer sometimes goes a long way of shifting something that's stuck together with glue that's not glue, oil which has congealed, because it's the oil which turns to glue. Let's try that one on the rail. Yeah, that's not too bad. I don't know whether this is going to couple. Yeah, there we go. We've got that one. We've got another northeast there again with cropped axles. Quite like these. I do like these early open wagons. And then just such a basic item as well, aren't they? But that goes really nicely with the track there. This one's got closed axle boxes. This is a little bit early. It's got the earlier style of coupling look. So I don't think we'll put that one. That's going to need some work before that's really going to go. I mean, they roll, but are we going to get focus there? Let's try. Oh yeah, it's a little bit freer than I thought, but I don't think we've got any. Don't think we've got a free moving one on one side and a one on the spline, and then one free. I think they're all knocked together. We shall see. Let's have a look. We better bring this to a bit of a close. Really, we're going to get into too long here, but it's just a quick video this week. So we've got the drop door there, and again with one hand, I don't think I can make that open. This one maybe seen better days. No, I'm not going to keep pushing on that one. Maybe I think possibly there is some glue in there. We're missing a coupling on one end and a hook on the other, so maybe we're into spares for that one. And again, this one's missing a roof, but it's always good to have more wheels and so on. And we've got another wagon there. That's going to need a little bit of attention if we put that one into service. Quite a nice colour. It's a lovely grey, that, isn't it? Lovely grey. And this is a drop door wagon, and that's obviously lost its doors. So we definitely parts in there. And we've got a brake van. I'm not sure whether that should have had steps. Those little pressed tin steps which they put on the side because they reworked the chassis at a later date to include that type of detail in it. But we definitely got acetate at play, but an interesting colour, that one, isn't it? And the roof suffered. I think they quite often do. They're quite delicate, the edges of this roof. So it's shrunk on so many through so many planes, that, hasn't it? Very interesting. So we've got some lever frames, and then we've got bits and pieces. Got the flat wagon there. Is that going to run? Can't get that on. There we go. Maybe. And then, yeah, that's a broken tanker. Let's just change my position here, sitting on the floor, see if we can get some better view here. We've got a handful of points. Some of them are broken. They're clearly broken. They're missing their short rails, one side or the other. But I think we've got springs present maybe in some of these items. And it's amazing how many parts you can reuse out of these for when something goes in another one. So there's one that's pretty good. So I think there's a handful of those. We've got what looks like a Hornby 001 there. So there's a handful of those in quite nice condition, which will live another day. Yeah, so I don't really have any. Let's have a look at that. So I don't know whether that is a point motor or whether that is just a switching thing for signalling, or the power in the rails, so whether it isolates and whether it shifts the power. I don't know a lot about this type of track, I have to admit. So we've got Hornby. Can't quite read it. It's been attacked with something under there, hasn't it? There's been a sticker and it's away. Definitely some sort of wiring or for circuitry of some sort in there. Quite interesting to see these things. Under frame, got a single gate from a level crossing. There we've got a handful of point motors. So they're always good to have additional point motors. I think one of those is a Series 3. So it's always good to have those. We've got those on the railway at the moment. Another one for Super 4 there. So strangely, the only point motors I've really broken in the layouts I've made have been the ones that go on the more contemporary System 6 track, the current Hornby ones. I had some of those on the track when it first went down. So I'm just going to move some of these things. We'll just have a final look in here. So it's the only one I've burnt one out. I don't really know how I did it. But apart from that, I don't think I've ever broken a Super 4 one or a Series 3 one or a Hornby 001. So I've had them broken when they've arrived, but yeah, so there's a list of stores there. Central London, High Holborn, South East London in Lewisham, North London, the Broadway and Southgate, Wood Green in North London. You've got Birmingham and the shopping centre, Blackpool, Bristol, Essex, and so on. Kingston upon Thames, Leeds, Liverpool, Newcastle upon Tyne, Pilgrim Street. I don't think they're there anymore. So they certainly had quite a few branches, didn't they, BTs? Quite nice to see that little price ticket there, 25p. Got those track pins there. And then this one, these look like Hornby Railways track pins. What was that? 38 pence, the top of the header card. Sadly missing there. I like that on these things. Not recommended for children under 36 months. You never know. So various bits of rail and the odd wheel and power clips for later track types there. So they're there for the later System 6. And these came along in the late 70s and early 80s, I think. Various coupling things here, but always nice to have bits and pieces. So one coupling rail, we've got a Super 4 one there and a Series 3. And this bag has got some interesting let's just have a look at that. We've got various bogies and wheel sets from one thing and another. I don't think they're from different manufacturers. I had a quick look through these. I think that's a Lima item. That one. I think there is. Yeah, that's part of a Hornby item. I think from the early 70s. Missing a wheel there. Half of something. But yeah, this is where the bits and pieces come from. Let's grab that. That could be a Hornby one actually, from the 70s, when they switched over to that other style of coach. And that just plugs in there, this little sort of bayonet fit. So that definitely use that. And there, that looks like a bit of a triangle off of the front of a Princess, missing the coupling at the front there. I'm not sure where that one derives from. It's got quite big wheels on it, that one. But yeah, that was another packet of track pins here. So we've got, I think these Pico ones. That's SL14. That sounds like a Pico. Yeah, there we go. Streamline. So I think those are definitely still in production. So let's just pop those to one side. Let's see if we can get the tank locomotive just to pull a couple of these wagons just to finish off with. Let's get rid of the box. Is that far enough over there? There we go. So let's bring the tank loco around. I don't think we've got that. So let's see if we can encourage that on there like that. I think we're all on there. So let's send that back around the railway. I think that's probably about it for this time, but thank you again for looking. I just thought it was quite good. Oh, we've lost one already. I thought it was just quite an interesting box of items to look at, and with the track plan book, I thought we'd start with this circle of Super 4 here on the floor. No, we haven't got that one. Just trying to couple these on a curve, which is relatively unsuccessful. So let's just turn that in the correct direction. But yeah, so different sort of video today, but I thought it was just a good way to have a look at it. But thank you again for looking in. Look back next time, we'll see if we can get back onto the main part of the railway. Goodbye now.